good now. I'm really excited about the panel discussion. We have some questions that have been prepared in advance, but on your piece of paper, whatever questions you do have, please try and fill them out and hand them into one of the lovely ladies wearing white so that we can add them at the end and ask them to introduce themselves, to share a little bit about what they do, who they are, their background, and then we will get started with our questions. Everyone excited?
Yeah.
Cool.
Hey, my name's Tobi Olujinmi. I'm this chocolate. Sorry. I'm his wife. I'm a speaker of the Word of God, and I am the founder of an entertainment and faith network broadcast called W Talk. Share a little bit about. Yeah. Okay. We've been together. So we've been together for 13 years, and we have been married though for 5.5 years, and we have a gorgeous little boy who's gorgeous, who's about to be 2, called Joshua.
So my name is Akin Olujinmi. So for a living, I'm a business development advisor. I work for an investment firm, and as Tobi said, we've been together for 13 years, married for 5.5. I think that's about it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ify Alexis. I am a leader of a young women's ministry called Love Limitless. I podcast, YouTube, speak, teach, and stuff like that. I'm also engaged to the most amazing man. And I have been engaged for 3 months, and I'm getting married next month.
Hi, my name is Bibiana Yetty. I'm wife, mother of 3 4-year-old twins and a 18-month-old toddler. He grows so quickly. I'm also a dentist, I guess that's my 9 to 5. I work for a parenting vlogging channel called Channel Mum, and I have my own channel. I just do just family vlogs and parenting vlogs as well.
Hi there everyone, my name is Seun Rasheed. Lucky enough to be married to that beautiful woman at the end, Simisola Rasheed. Father to be, can't wait to just say father. In 2 months, it's an amazing baby. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of teaching, a lot of reading, and a lot of gameplay. But I do more reading than gameplay. I hope, I pray. Yeah. I'm looking forward to be here. It's going to be an amazing day in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much, guys. So, the first question that I have, or statement rather, courtship is a time of being very intentional in preparing for a godly marriage. What things should a courting couple be doing in this season? And for this question, I'm going to take 3 responses from the panelists. So I'll say it again. Courtship is a time of being very intentional in preparing for marriage. What things should a courting couple be doing in this season?
I'll start. The first thing that comes to mind is to really be students of one another in that season of courtship. So there's this person that you believe that you can spend the rest of your life with. So I think it's important to learn them, be a student of them, asking intentional questions. What's their understanding of marriage? What's your understanding of marriage? What does being a husband look like, or being a wife look like? In practical terms, all the way down to who does what in the house, how children will be raised. I think that in courtship you can ask those kind of concerted questions. Discuss cultural differences, discuss societal, discuss differences. There's so many differences in upbringing, so many differences that the two of you will have. How do those two coincide? Pay close attention to vision, purpose, and direction. I think that those are things to do. And also look at who is this person accountable to? Who are the key influences in their life? Who are the friends in their lives, mentors in their lives? So when I think about practical things that you can be doing in courtship, I think being a student of one another, because it's really the foundation for your marriage, however much you know of each other, and your willingness to adjust to the plans that I guess you both have, or he has. That's what I think. That's one thing.
I personally think that in courtship, sort of piggybacking on what Ify said, definitely getting to know yourself, getting to understand how you function in your existing family unit. So, for example, if you're an untidy person, like I was, sort of making those notes and knowing that you're not going to change because you're married, or knowing that I like to spend money recklessly. Just being able to identify those. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I'm just giving examples, not necessarily about me. But yeah, just actually identifying things in your life that people in your family have already picked up on, and just knowing that you need to deal with them at some point. And I think people sort of rush into the whole courtship stroke engagement without dealing with their habits and their skeletons, so to speak. So,
Definitely, I do agree with a point in terms of studying the other person, get to know them properly. Like, sometimes I hear stories of people that get married and they have disagreements on things like when they want to have children, how many children that they want. And it kind of shocks me because I always think to myself, do you just look at each other's eyes and how beautiful they look? Like, yes, compliment each other, but actually have serious conversations about where you do see yourself going in the future as a married couple, where you would like to go, and literally study each other, study the way they interact with their family members. You are signed up to be their family member, not their long-term boyfriend or girlfriend. So literally see, are they one of those at home, or are they one of those very caring, loving, etc.? Or do they care for people that they care about, or are they naturally caring for everyone? These are the sort of things, because recognize it's not going to be just great times. The Bible says there's times and seasons to everything. There's going to be good times in marriage, there's going to be bad times in marriage. You need to see how they respond when bad times do come about as well.
Awesome. And just to add to that, I would say courtship is also a time where you take time to work on you. You have to be exceptionally intentional about recognizing these are the areas where I'm weak and working on you. Like, don't just focus on, okay, we're going to get married soon, let's work on us together. That's fine, that's necessary, but you also need to work on you and definitely go in your prayer closet and be like, Lord, search my heart, whatever things in me need to be dealt with, please do deal with them. So courtship is a very necessary time for that as well. Next question. Oh, go for it.
Sorry, it's piggybacking off a lot of them basically, but the main point is understanding each other's vision for their life and for their future. I think for me, I always told Sam that I wanted to go back to uni and do some postgraduate courses, and I think it's important you have those conversations first. So, those things are just really important financially, and just it affects maybe when you're going to have children as well, and kind of having a really intentional talk about this is what my life is going to look like, what my future's going to look like, and are you okay with that, and vice versa.
Amen. Next question. How do you ensure you prioritize God over the person you are in a relationship with? And what safeguards can you put in place so that they don't become an idol? That's it. It's a real question. So how do you ensure you prioritize God over the person you're in a relationship with? And what safeguards can you put in place so that they don't become an idol? I think because everyone here is in a relationship, we'll take an answer from each person.
One thing I would definitely emphasize is accountability, having very strong accountability. So whether it's your mentors, your pastors, parents, good friends, not just cheerleader friends, and someone who can actually tell you about yourself if you need to. I think one of the scenarios was, I think it was James or something, that I started to, as soon as they were courting, he was on fire for God. As soon as he started courting, he started going backwards, started backsliding and whatnot. And to ensure, someone that can actually tell you if you are starting to exalt this other person ahead of you, having sure you do have the right sort of people around you to kind of tell you about yourself when those scenarios do come up.
Understanding the roles of people and God, like fundamentally, because people poo, like people are people, and God is God. He is the sovereign, all-knowing, all-being, everlasting God. And if that's not something that's hype, that isn't something that you can kind of, church is great, it's wonderful, these events are wonderful, but at the core of who you are as a being, you know, your source has to be connected to God. And having a consciousness of that daily is important, irrespective. So how many of us kind of consciously thought, Holy Spirit, you're here today? You know, I tell you a quick funny story, right? So I was talking to my auntie, and she was saying to me, she said, who's at home? I said, oh, it's just Joshua and I. She said, no, you Joshua, Holy Spirit. And I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, no, obviously God's here. She said, no, say it, you Joshua, Holy Spirit. I was like, okay, me, Joshua, Holy Spirit. And I laugh at that, do you know, but she has that sort of like, that consciousness of God. If you don't have that consciousness, and it's really intentional, it isn't something that just happens, you go in and out, but you've got to be almost kind of obsessive with it, like, actually, I'm going to wake up every day and God's going to be at the forefront. I'm making a decision. God, consciousness of God, not beyond the worship experience, beyond listening to Stephen Fenton pastor, like a consciousness of God. And when you have that and you put Him, God, being in the place that's appropriate, I mean, I love this man with everything. You know what I mean? With everything. He's the father of my child, this is the husband, this is the priest of my home. You know, but the role of God cannot be replaced when you appropriately place Him where He is. And I think that, if we're honest, it requires, it's an art, it's a discipline, it's something that needs to be cultivated, and it's something that is deeply personal. So for me, I think that's the way you do it. You're going to fall in love. There's a lot of women in here. You're going to be head over your heels. You're going to have the emotion. He's going to say whatever he says most of the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You know, like that happens. You know what I mean? But when you have a consciousness of God, nah, that's Jehovah.
Just to add to that, what do you do if you don't have that consciousness of God and being with the other person feels more real than being with God? Or being around the other person makes you feel more loved than actually being in the presence of God? What do you say to someone in that position? And that could be to anyone.
I think that's really important. I think it's a really important question. I think that, you know, we all can kind of go through a routine. Like, I mean, I was saying something to Akin, friends of mine, that, you know, 2017 for me was like a blur. Like, how are we here? Like, how is tomorrow, like, coming up to the last days of the year? And I think it's because you just go with the flow. We don't have that intentionality, you know, and I don't feel like I have been given 365 days, like each day, do you know what I mean? But wake up every morning and say, God, I want to know you, I want to talk to you. For me, I think it's a very personal thing. For me, I've got a very personal relationship with God. I can sit on the London Underground and say, oh my God, her shoes, really nice. Or, no God, but she tried it, I'm trying to work on patience, God, and she's trying it. I talk to God like that. And I think some of us, we can keep God at a distance from when we need Him, or we can keep God at a distance when we want to try and want something, but we don't bring Him into even the minute details of our lives. And I think bringing Him into the minute details, okay, God, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. How can I deal with this? You know, oh God, I want to watch Tamar and Vince, but I know I need to be studying my Bible. How do I do it? Bring Him in. Like, He wants to be brought into whatever it is. And when you bring God into every area, dimension, aspect of your life, He becomes real. He becomes very real, as opposed to this figure in a book that you feel is a chore to read. They're completely different things. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to answer the question. Could you repeat it?
The original question. How do you ensure you prioritise God over the person you're in a relationship with, and what safeguards can you put in place so that they don't become an idol?
Yeah, I really like the question. What came to mind firstly is to pace emotional intimacy with that person. I think sometimes when, I guess, there's someone that we like, it's very easy to overshare and have this false sense of security that comes by sharing everything too soon, and it's unwise. I think in courtships we're growing in commitment, we're growing in friendship. These things are things that we're supposed to be growing in intimacy, and it's important to stay centered and not be afraid to put up boundaries. I can only think about, you know, my courtship, and I remember that David was very, I guess, specific to not over-compliment me physically. And a lot of the compliments were, oh yeah, you're so patient, you're so virtuous. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, you know, I remember at the time thinking, but what about my hair? really do thank God for that, because it showed me that, okay, firstly, there's more interest in what I look like, and it allowed me to also pace my heart out. I think for myself, being a words of affirmation person, these words automatically just make me want to put down all my guards and all of those things, but you have to date intelligently or court intelligently, and so anything that might cause you to fall into that false sense of security, don't be afraid to put a boundary in their place. If it's meeting too much or talking too much or hearing too many flattery words, don't be afraid to put a boundary in that place. So when you pace out that intimacy, I think it allows you to maintain focus on what's really important. The affirmation of God is more important than his affirmation. I think that we often just kind of go with the flow too much, and yeah, the flow is not going to go anywhere but to your flesh. So don't be afraid to say, actually, no, the flattery words are too much, or okay, we're spending a bit too much time together, we're speaking too much, you know, I'm speaking to you before I've spoken to God, you're the last I speak to, the first I speak to. Don't be afraid to say, actually, I want to rework this, you know, let's actually maintain a curfew just so I can get, you know, good night's sleep, and pray and actually read my Bible and not just speak to you before I sleep. So don't be afraid to put those boundaries in the right place, just to avoid that false sense of security that comes from oversharing and intimacy that is not, that you haven't deserved yet, you know, that you can't ask for yet.
One thing a lot of people tend to say is that when those kind of boundaries are in place, it feels as though you're not really interested in the person, or they don't know how you feel, or it's kind of like, do they really care about me? What would you say to someone like that? Because I hear that so often, like, okay, they're not, like, in your scenario, you could have been like, oh my God, but he's not coming around to me, like, am I not caring? Like, you know, what do you say to someone like that? Or I put these boundaries in place to ensure that we don't fall sexually, but how do they still know that I'm attracted to them? What would you say to that kind of person? That's to anyone.
So I was going to say, firstly, that boundaries protect what is valuable. Boundaries protect what is valuable. So it's hard. The Christian walk is hard already. So yes, there will be questions of, you know, does he really like me? Does she really like me? Or, you know, we haven't been anywhere physically, so how am I sure that it's going to work? This is why we walk a walk of faith. Honestly, we really do. So for the person that thinks, oh, you know, it's a bit dry, it's a bit dreary, I think that it's important to prize the things that truly matter. I mean, now, like, you know, I know we said like Songs of Solomon, or it might sound corny, but I'm actually trying to grow my patience. So when someone is actually complimenting my patience, it shows me that, wait, you're observing me, and you're paying close attention to the fact that, you know, yesterday I was a little bit harsh, a little bit snappy, but today, you know, it's a new day, and I'm trying harder. So it's taught me to observe the things that matter the most, the internal life, that all we see will pass away. So someone that is willing to look beyond the surface is key. So it's allowed me to be rewired, to not just rely on the affirmation of someone to say that I'm beautiful. Well, I know that already. You know, I don't just become beautiful because you tell me that I'm beautiful. I know who created me. So it allows me to walk based on truth and not just based on, I guess, hearsay from man, but the truth of God's word.
Just to kind of add to that is some of that, through our testimony for us here, is one thing that I've definitely learned with my marriage is that, and I tell Simi this all the time, that I don't love her because of her. As much as she's really amazing, she really is amazing, she's really beautiful, she's so, like, everything I've ever asked for that God can ever give me, I'm really grateful. But that's not the reason why I love her. I love her because of what God has told me to do. He's given me the commandment that love your wife as Christ loved himself. Now the reason why I emphasize that, because there's people we can change all the time. We have character. Hello? So as people we have character flaws. Sometimes we might, today we're good, tomorrow we're bad, and then God knows what's going to happen the day afterwards. And I have to ensure that by God's grace I still want to be able to love her through those difficult moments, to ensure that we can fulfill the assignment that God has given us as a married couple. So I never try and base my love for Simi because of her. I always do it because God has said, love your wife. Because God's word will never change, then there's no reason why I should change, if that makes sense. So I always do things according to God's word rather than how I'm feeling on the day, how I'm, etc.
Don't I have an amazing husband?
Can I say something a little bit controversial? I'm just getting into trouble. But I think it's good to I think it's good to, you know, to flirt a little bit. to have some chemistry. Because, and I say this just because I have a lot of friends, and I know a lot of people, and they get to their wedding night and they have no idea what to do. You know, so I agree that your boundaries are boundaries. I don't mean flirt in terms of how far do we go, not all of that rubbish. I believe that we are mature people in here. But have that chemistry, have that sort of kind of chemistry. It's like, yes, this is someone I'm interested in. Look intently into their eyes. I'm not trying to school you how to. Look intently into their eyes. Have something where it's like, you know what, like, this is romance without touching. I will often get the question a lot in terms of how do you know the sex is going to be good and all of that rubbish. You know, we didn't have sex before we were married, and we called for we were practically children. We met at 18 years old, you know. But once they were like, how did you know sex was going to be good? It's like, because we had chemistry. You know, we had yes, I don't know, I knew he was attentive, I knew he was all of those things, I knew he was patient, all those other fundamental things that are necessary for good. But I think in Christian courtship, sometimes we can become a little dry. And I'm just being honest. I said that's controversial, I think it's a bit real. I've just got to be completely honest. And then what happens is, there's no sex drive, and people are not talking about this. You get married, and the woman has, it's particularly for women, they get to kind of what, I don't know, I got married at 26, and they didn't have sex, and they had all of it, and now they want to have sex on the go, and they don't have that sex drive particularly, or they don't know what to do, or, you know, and a little bit of chemistry in here, you know, a little, you know, know your hand, touching of the hand, looking intently, having a little bit of a, you know, I think that if you're courting with the intention to marry. And I think with that being in place, knowing the boundaries, so you're not mocking God, of course, but just I hope I'm being clear, just making sure that, look, you can flirt. You can smile. You're a man. No, it's true, because I see some Christian men, I'm like, I can smile, it's okay. You know what I mean? You haven't fallen. And so we can be a little bit robotic. With it. Jesus came, removed the shoes, and washed the feet of his disciples. Are you kidding me? That's one of the most intimate. The Bible says that Simon Peter laid on the bosom of Jesus Christ. You can have that kind of intimate friendship, that kind of deepness before you get to marry. So you're not on your wedding night and you're like, goodness me, what do I do? And you can't call your pastor.
So I completely agree that there should be chemistry and you should be attracted to the person that you're courting, but I do think it's very necessary to be careful not to awaken love before it's time. And I feel like in my own courtship, it's when we got engaged that we were slightly more affectionate, but we had so many people around us that felt the need to say, leave room for the Holy Spirit. So in as much as we were, you know, being a little bit more flirty, we would do it in open places so that people couldn't check us. So don't, like, you can take that, but don't go and do that privately and then you find yourself going somewhere and it's just like, oh my God, how did we end up here? There's a place for that. Do it in a safe place. And also, in terms of like discussing like sex before your wedding night, don't wait until your wedding night to discuss sex. Ask questions, speak to people that have been there before. For a woman, speak to other wives. If you're a man, speak to other men that have been there before. Speak to your pastor. Well, if you have a pastor that can speak about this, speak to your pastor, speak to people. Don't wait until you get to that place and it's just like, okay, I'm here now, what do I do? So I know that's a fear for a lot of people in this place, in the church, but it really doesn't have to be. Like, I look out for engaged women, I'm like, let's talk about sex, like, are you ready? Like, you know, what's going on? And I think those conversations are healthy, so...
And needed.
And necessary, very necessary. So yeah, take that, be careful with that one. Anyone else? This is about the ideal question.
Okay, I think from the original question you asked for, like,
so how do you ensure you prioritize God over the person you're in a relationship with, and what safeguards can you put in place so that they don't become an idol?
I think in life you desire whatever you put in front of you. So obviously when it comes to boyfriends, if you're constantly at his house or he's constantly around yours, and an idol can be anything. It can be your studies, it can be food. So just remember that, you know, you have to think about putting God in front. And it sounds really cliche, but in terms of practical tips, maybe doing like Bible challenges, which make you intentional about going through the Bible, or maybe 21 days or a month. So you're really intentional about spending one-on-one time with God. Because I remember like in Romans it said when they all fell into like sexual sin, it said they exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and they worshipped the things God created instead of the Creator Himself. And that whole idea that they exchanged the truth, we always remember that when we spend time with God, He gives us the Holy Spirit, and that gives us conviction and leads us into all truth. So I think that will enable us to be able to know if we're now turning this guy or girl into an idol.
I think for me personally, I think it's about sort of sustaining the relationship you have with God whilst you're single as well. But sort of making room for obviously another person to join that sort of worship session. So for example, so I'm a musician, and before we got married, I would spend hours just worshiping, and that didn't stop because I got married. It carried on. So I would basically have my own sessions and then invite Tobi. She can't sing, but it's all good. She can hum. So yeah, just continuing that sort of, having that intimate relationship with God, but also being able to embrace somebody else coming into that relationship as well. And in terms of sort of safeguarding it, I think having people around you to keep you grounded. I think that's something that a lot of people sort of neglect is, don't forsake the fellowship of the brethren. Because, people do notice things, and like I always say at work, is that people will give an opportunity, everyone wants to say something. So if you ask them, how am I doing, or how have you noticed any changes, people will probably give you an answer. So yeah, definitely having people around you that know you, or know the best version of you, or want to see the best version of you around you, and not just keeping yes people or people that are just championing you or just cheering you. That's mine.
Cool, thank you. Next question. A godly marriage consists of two whole individuals, but we know that we are still being perfected by God. Were there any areas of development that God specifically highlighted to you as individuals while you were courting that He wanted you to begin addressing before marriage? For example, a character flaw, a bad habit, something along those lines.
One thing I always say is that marriage will test whether you really are a Christian or not. Like, it really does, because like every part of the fruit of the Spirit is needed for your marriage. So, for example, when I was single, and my pastor's here, so he can bear me witness, but I was very, very I was not patient at all. Like, when I see mess, I was very quick to jump in and say, are you a Christian? Like, what's going on? Like, and that'll be my thought to pastors, not even the congregation. So you can imagine what I'm like with people. Like, I just couldn't understand why people done mess, and I was like, what is going on? What is really going on? So definitely, as an individual, that needed to be worked on. I needed to build up on my patience. I needed to, the Bible says that love is long suffering, and there's times where you're gonna have to suffer for a long time. But I had to work on that, and definitely I can definitely see during my marriage where the patience is needed. It's not just necessarily with my wife, but in terms of certain scenarios. There's things where I've been waiting on God since the day I was married. I'm still waiting on them. I've been almost 2.5 years going on now. So, but because of the character that God has been working on through me to develop that patience, it's helping me to kind of wait on the Lord and not run ahead of Him in time. So that's definitely one of my areas, patience.